Former FBI Director James Comey has reached an unusual place in the vitriol of American politics. He's disliked by both the right and the left. His new book, though, already one of the best sellers of the year. A couple of days ago, we got to ask Comey some of our own questions about President Trump and how he wants history to remember him. Director Comey, thank you for speaking with us today.
Great to be with you.
Based on your conversations and what you've seen, do you think President Trump has committed a crime?
I don't know the answer to that. I certainly saw personally some behavior that is potentially evidence of obstruction of justice, but I'm just a witness in this case, as strange as that is for me at this point in my life. I'm not the prosecutor or the investigator, and that ultimate judgment would depend upon the gathering of other evidence that I can't see, and it's no longer my job to gather. So that's a long way of saying I don't know.
Is that evidence you saw that you mentioned in the George Stephanopoulos interview, is that enough for an actual case?
Well, at the core of obstruction of justice is the intent of the person who's being investigated. A person has to act with corrupt intent to be guilty of obstruction of justice. And so it requires the gathering of evidence that reflects on what that person's state of mind is, conversations before, conversations after, and a bunch of stuff that I can't see. And so I can't offer you a view on the ultimate conclusion. That's the special prosecutor's job to figure that out. And I'm confident if he's not interfered with, he'll get to truth. And I don't know what the truth is. I don't care, so long as he finds the truth. And I think that he will if he's left to do his job.
Director Comey, you suggested in the ABC interview that it's possible President Trump is compromised by the Russians, but you offered no evidence. Why do you think that?
A number of things. First of all, in normal circumstances, you could say it's simply impossible that a certain person would be in a certain situation. In this case, I can't say that. And then I have the additional circumstance of an individual who just kept bringing it up with me, which is not conclusive evidence, but as an investigator, you start to be concerned when someone raises something repeatedly. And then the third factor would be the reluctance of the president, even in private, to criticize Vladimir Putin is striking. Now, I'm not saying it exists. I think it's very unlikely, but if I'm honest, it's possible.
If you had concerns with the president early on, why didn't you just walk away, retire, take off?
Well, because that would have been abandoning the FBI. Actually, my concerns about the president just increased my commitment to stay and try and lead and protect that amazing institution, which is supposed to be at a distance from the president and the political leadership.
You're only the second FBI director behind Louis Freeh to write a book, but Louis Freeh waited until all the investigations were over with. Should you have waited until Mueller's investigation was over before releasing this book?
Now, that's a reasonable question, and I could see people seeing it differently. My thinking is this. My testimony is locked down. I testified under oath in front of the Senate. I gave written testimony. It's based on written memos that I created at the time. And so there really isn't a fear, unless I start making stuff up, I suppose, but that's not going to happen. There isn't a fear that I'm going to create inconsistent statements because it's already set in concrete.
Director Comey, how do you think that history will remember you?
I don't know. I kind of hope history doesn't remember me at all, and that I made a small contribution to having a conversation, not about policy disputes, which are important in this country, but not as important as something higher than that, which is our values, and drive a discussion of values that I hope people, whether they're Republican or Democrat or neither, will realize is more important than the things we disagree about on a daily basis. And if I've made a small contribution to that, I'd love to be a father or grandfather and a professor and not be remembered, honestly. By my kids, I'd love to be remembered, but I don't really care about being remembered by history.
Director Comey, thank you for speaking with us.
All right, thanks for taking the time.